My next guest is the Executive Vice President at the National Taxpayers Union, Brandon Arnold. Welcome back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Thanks for coming on the program. Can you use my phone here? Why am I looking at Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Byron Donald sparring over this? What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, House Republicans, it's become a three-ring circus, and everybody's pointed in different directions. Everybody is making different demands. People are frustrated with the leadership. People are frustrated with the Freedom Caucus. Nobody can seem to agree. And guess who's laughing at this entire process? Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden, because the Republicans are absolutely imploding and eroding any kind of leverage that they might have during negotiations. I
don't understand. Republicans, every 2 to 4 years, say we have to cut the spending. Every 2 to 4 years. And, conservatives go, okay, I'm going to vote for Republicans to cut the spending. And then they don't cut the spending. So would it be really this hard for Kevin McCarthy to sell the penny plan, a 1% cut? 1%.
Yeah, he doesn't have the votes for that. And that's the problem. It's not just about negotiating with conservatives. It's about bringing 218 Republicans. Some who are more moderate. There's the full range of Republicans there. So you have to negotiate across the entire conference. I'm hardly a McCarthy apologist, but what I've seen is so many different demands being made by so many different ideological factions within the Republican Party. At the end of the day, they need to work together to try to get half of a loaf here. They're not going to get the penny plan. I would love to see the penny plan in play here, but they're not going to get the penny plan. What they need to do is move the needle as far to the right as they possibly can. That's still going to get a bill across the finish line. 218 votes in the House and a majority of senators. They're not even close to that right now because they're insisting upon perfection. You're never going to get perfection through a legislative process, especially when you have 535 egos in the United States Congress that are competing and trying to pull the bill in different directions.
What is not moderate about a 1% cut? What is too conservative about a 1% cut? Like, why wouldn't that sail through and get 218?
I don't think it would, because right now you're looking at a continuing resolution that they put together over the weekend that, with the exception of national security and immigration functions, cuts spending by 8% across the board. You're looking at almost every department in the federal government getting an 8% cut. It's a very short-term spending patch, but at least it avoids a shutdown. And here you have conservatives saying this goes too far, even though it's dead on arrival in the Senate. So there's just so many different perspectives here, so many different priorities within the Congress. When you have a pretty conservative package like this, you can't get across the finish line. When you have appropriations bills that aren't perfect, but have a lot of really good riders in there to rein in the Biden administration's rulemaking process, the regulatory process, and you still can't get the votes, you just aren't going to have any leverage.
So do you think we're looking at a shutdown?
I do. I hate to say it. I think a shutdown is really bad for the conservative cause. It ends up costing money, billions of dollars a day. When we shut down the federal government, we end up letting federal employees, go home, watch Netflix, and eat bonbons on their couch. And then we end up giving them more money at the end of the shutdown. We end up making them whole, not just on the money that we didn't pay them when they were goofing off. We pay them for that, and then we give them a little bit more money for their trouble. That's what happens when we shut down the government. In addition to disrupting a lot of important functions, we can disrupt, depending on how far Biden wants to push it. Transportation Security Administration can be disrupted, national parks and a national forest, things that people are visiting this time of year. So listen, I think we should make the government a lot smaller. I don't think shutting down the government has ever produced good results for conservatives, and I don't see how that's going to change if that happens at the end of the month.
Well, I mean, a government shutdown isn't really a government shutdown. It's not like we ground all the fighter jets and send the FBI home, although that might be a benefit. It's not, there are so many functions that carry on during a shutdown that's not really a shutdown. And no matter who causes the shutdown, the media always blames Republicans, no matter what. But this is something that Democrats have learned. It's a learned behavior. Scare them with a shutdown, and they'll cower in the corner and do what we tell them to.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And there's something called the Washington Monument Strategy, where they shut down functions of government that are most visible. And then they point at Republicans, whether that's Ted Cruz or Kevin McCarthy or whomever, and they say, this is the reason why we're shutting down the Washington Monument and visitors can't go and check it out. I remember a few years ago when we had a shutdown on the Obama administration, they blocked off with tape and orange traffic cones access to the airport, access to local parks by the George Washington Parkway. They just tried to make it as painful and as visible as possible because they know the media is going to spin that in their favor. That's exactly what's going to happen here again when we shut down. And because Biden, a Democrat, is in control of the White House, they're going to employ this model. They're going to make it as visible and as painful to Republicans as possible. And eventually Republicans are going to cave and we're going to have much bigger government. Sorry, ruin the play.
We're never getting a spending cut. I'm out of time here. I got to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.